Hey, what is up, everybody? It is Uncle Matt here trying something today, doing a bit of a live stream because normally, on home games, I'm always out there vlogging the match, but I thought it'd be fun today since we're on the road, do a little live stream, kind of talk about what's going on with the team, share some of my thoughts. Keep this brief, not to ramble as much as I can, but if you've ever tried to talk about stuff, inevitably, I probably will start rambling, but wanted to look at some of the stuff that's been going on lately with the team, looking back at the last couple games, and talk about what I hope and what I think might happen today with our match against United coming up today at 4 o'clock Central Time. So let's look back forward. The big talking point, the biggest thing coming out of the last KC was the late penalty, non-penalty, VAR, Spinoza yellow card, delaying the game, restart, all the chaos that was going on with that. I should share first. So I tend to give referees a little bit of more of a leeway benefit of the doubt than a lot of people do, but that whole situation was bad. I've season than what I've seen in the first few seasons in MLS. The referees seem to be hoping VAR will help them more than they used to. Like they no longer have the confidence to make the initial call to film unless it's just blatantly obvious. Because going back into the whole build up to what ended up being called a penalty, there is one to two other fouls in that buildup that he could. Some might even say the first foul was even more egregious than the later one that ended up getting rolled off for VAR. It is what it is. The problem I see with this, by the way the law is written, the way the rules are instituted with VAR, that ultimately the call was correct based on what they're supposed to do. So I kind of got hosed out of losing the penalty call. Ultimately, whether you like it or not, the right decision was reached. Where I think the biggest problem coming out of this is I have no doubt that we're going to see more trying to do what Espinoza did. He knew that if he delayed the game, VAR would have more time to look for something. He was just generally trying to get in Hani's head. I don't know if the ball was that far off that he just really fell off, but ultimately, whatever his motivation was, the end result is it got a not getting to take a penalty. And he got a yellow card is all he got. So it was like, I'd say a yellow card was worth it in that situation. I take a yellow card every day of the week if it gets like that, where it delays the game enough that a penalty gets taken off the board and doesn't end up happening. So if you know soccer, 30, 25 years ago, maybe there wasn't as much of the time wasting. As players have tried things like that, and it's a copycat thing. People are going to keep doing it. So I would not be surprised if this was, you see at least one game where somebody gets a penalty and a player from the opposing excessive delay runs out last second. Because even if they don't think it's delaying the game for further view, you're getting further into the kicker's head, the penalty. Like, you make him sit there longer, you make him think about it more, you disrupt his rhythm, you disrupt this more. That's a whole thing we've seen more and more. Goalkeepers will come out and wait forever to go back to their line. Players will argue with the refs for extended periods of time. Interesting stuff this summer with the U.S. team. I think it was this past summer where there was, it doesn't matter, where the U.S. would have a different player to kick, hold the ball to try and get the team to not congregate, to not kind of attack the player who was actually going to take the kick. Like, I think it was Ferretti, he was going to take the penalty, and last second, once the referee finally got everything ready, pull some up and be like, oh, psych, I'm the one taking it. We shouldn't have to do those things. We've got to find a way to clean this up. I saw some interesting takes, some interesting ideas of how to clean this up. Some people suggested if yellow carded like Espinoza did, that's the latest action in the game. You cannot go further other actions. That's interesting. People pointed out there's a similar rule in the NFL where throws a challenge flag in a situation where he's not allowed to throw a challenge flag. It's delaying the game, and it negates any potential automatic review that might have happened on the previous play. So that's one way you could go. I think the easier way is, like, NFL used to have this when they first started doing replay. I don't think anybody really has this anymore, but I always thought it was a positive. Replay across sports is a timer. Like, you can only look at this play for so long. The review only has a minute to look at a play to figure out if there's something in the time. Than that, you're just looking at that point in time. You're going too far, you're looking too deep. So I prefer that kind of idea of maybe we put a 1 minute time views. Like if the video assistant referee doesn't have anything he wants to send to the on field within a minute, gone, because you're having to go too far back in the play, you're having to go too deep in something. And in my mind, overworking it there. Might cut it in a little bit. I'll try to hopefully speak up. So hopefully won't do that too much. Let me see. Let me just here. Yeah. Refs have been consistent. I will say, they're not as much as I'd like to see, but they do kind of respond a bit more. They do kind of put out statements more than other leagues when there is an issue with the referee or something. So there's a lot they sweep under the rug. I think they're more likely to come out with there's one that they feel they can explain a little bit more, but they are a little bit in terms of kind of saying, hey, we may have missed something here than a lot of other leagues, but I think they need some adjustments. They need some changes to try to, figure it out. I mean, VAR is very new in the scope of things to soccer. So every league, I think part of the problem is every league does VAR. MLS does VAR different than the Premier League, national. FIFA or somebody needs to come up with like just a consistent across the board. This is how VAR works, and kind of hammer it home. Like they have it in the laws of the game supposed to work. I don't know why they'll twist it and do their own version of it, but I love the thing. I do like that the MLS one is always the on-field ref going screen to look at stuff. But at the same time, I feel like offside is something that's, for the most part, I mean, sometimes you see the crazy stuff where it's like his elbow was offside, but I don't think to review that. That's one where I don't mind the video official going, hey, we looked at it, it's offside, stuff like that. It's a work in progress. It'll develop. Like my biggest concern with it is just getting, because we're going to see more players doing what Espinoza did, more players trying to run a penalty at the last second and delay it or stop. Not going to be fun for anyone. Like, I love soccer. I love the dark arts of it. I love the cheekiness, the free and all that. But at some points, it is starting to get a little too. The goalkeeper for SKC was time wasting within the first 15 minutes of the game. It was just insane. Like, and I know the referees don't want to throw yellow cards out in the first and really put too much of their impact on the game. I completely understand that, but there has house we can be fun. We can't just let it get to the levels it's starting to get to. This Espinoza thing, we're going to see that start league if we don't. The referees start to squash that. Like, I don't know if you give it there. That's one where the yellow card negates previous reviews. That's a bigger penalty on that yellow card, but has been done to make stuff like that not consistently happen. Ultimately, the penalty was just one moment in the match. It was a match. We lost the match because our lineup and our tactics. I know a lot of people have been very critical of Gary for playing midfielders 3-6s against a very bad team. Been able to go full attack on. But I see his logic. I think his idea was let me put three best available midfielders on the field. Leal couldn't go the full 90. We've seen to do some good things in his distribution, his passing. So I think he was hoping he could play a little bit more. Davis has been one of our better players this season, so I think putting him in a little bit more advanced might work. Ultimately, for more reasons, it didn't, whether it was Stu not being comfortable in a more advanced role than what they usually play. Maybe the bigger issue is it seems not very good, so he wasn't, as the deepest midfielder, wasn't doing a very good job of connecting the defense further midfielders up the field. Our back three was not very the ball forward, progressive passing. It was a lot of just swing the ball around the back, and then lump it forward when you don't have any ideas. I think this was where I can remember for Nashville C super noticed Zimmerman's, obviously one of our best players, a very important player, but his passing were like, if he had been back there able to like ping some balls forward, ping to Hanny and CJ of like swing it around, hopeful just forward, that would have been a huge advancement. Because I mean, honestly, our defense didn't play that bad defensively. It was just they weren't able to initiate the attack as well as we've seen Zimmerman start to do as he's become comfortable as a passer on the ball. I actually wrote into Club and Country, one of the podcasts that covered the team, asking them, where do they think Zimmerman's improvement as a passer came from, and they had some really good answers. So check out their podcast if you don't already listen to them. International SC. Really, all the ones that do it are really good, except probably mine. Like, I'm just good at stats. I don't look at analytics. I just kind of watch the game from my seat, kind of get a gut feeling I saw, and kind of just that's my feeling. But there's guys who are a lot smarter than me. They're doing a lot better work analyzing the team, actually looking at the numbers, figuring out what's going on. I just like them like this one. But our attack are also kind of hampered by Vermees kind of outcoached Gary a little bit, which I don't think is a huge surprise. Gary, it's crazy to say he's not as good of a coach as Peter Vermees. Vermees definitely has players up the field to push our wingbacks back so that we couldn't attack through them so much. So Meal in particular, who, he's out being attacking wingback. He's not, out defender, but he got pushed back and would get the field and attack as much as he normally is, as much as he so. That definitely hampered our tactics as well because we didn't have his outlets to kind of hit the ball to. So once again, we didn't have as many targets for like to have. Good job, Peter Vermees. If there's anything I can say, critical of Gary, it's that got outcoached in that regard to me. I don't think his lineup was that terrible. I think he just didn't have an answer for what KC did until on low. Gave us a little more attacking outlets, a little more options up front. I don't know. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, but I think Gary kind of made him look. We have a lot better players right now than KC does because KC's just ravaged by injuries, but what it is. Yeah, good comment from Orange and Blue. Willis problem. Dax, that's another thing. If Dax had been in that midfield three, and his ability to kind of move the ball progressively forward would have been sitting the other players that were out there, but he's old. He can't play every match. So we have to pick and choose how we're going to play Dax right now. And I think there was a hope that John Davis could kind of be a Dax replacement, but as good as he is, I think there's certain parts of his game that just almost Dax is like his creative passing, his picking out of passes, just a little bit behind what Dax is. But that's something that he can grow on. Not young, but he's got time to still add things to his game. I mean, that was about Zimmerman's improving passing is he's like 28 years old. You usually don't see players that years add significant things to their game the way he's added his passing. So, but yeah, Dax would be a huge addition having him in there. And this is a good time to transition into the Joe Willis. After the game, if you watch my game day vlog, I said we officially have a Joe Willis problem. Fully ready to kick Joe out of the team. A little overreaction in the moment right after the game. Goal was really bad. He has to get a save on that, or at least look like he knows where the ball's going at somewhat, because it just never saw the ball at all until it was in the back of the net somehow, which it was not like a hard shot. It just, I don't know. It was a bad performance by him on that goal. The rest of the game, I don't know if there was anything else that was bad, but I'm going to walk back on saying we have a Joe Willis problem, and I'll say we have a need to find a Joe Willis, because I think the thing we have to address now, Joe can get us through this season. He's going to have mistakes, but we need to play better as a team to overcome if our goalkeeper makes one mistake a game. But long term, beyond this season, have another goalkeeper. And I'd like to see Elliot got 2 games a couple weeks back, but I want to see 3, 4, 5 running the team, because can he be the goalkeeper of the future and replace Joe long time in the long run? That was a weird way to say that. Or do we need to go out and find a new goal some point in this summer window or going into the winter when we're before next season? I jokingly mentioned, Ethan Horvath looked like he doesn't have much of a future at. He's the backup there already. They lose their first team goalkeeper, and instead of giving Ethan the charter, now they've brought in Dean Henderson from Manchester United to be their new starter. So it doesn't seem like there's a path forward in the first team for Horvath. Nottingham Forest, maybe it's time for him to learn less, where he might play more. So I was joking about it first, but I mean, I don't think he'll, if maybe in the winter window Ethan Horvath comes to Nashville SC. That's something that would actually happen. But that's why I have to give Elliot a couple run of games, see what Panico is, see what he can do. I think there's a great opportunity to maybe insert him in the Wednesday against Orlando, let him play that game, and then maybe 2 to 3 more of the next kind of MLS matches. I'd love to see it. Don't know if Gary, he kind of plans, he kind of sticks with his tactics. He said all the right things after the SKC game. He said, we have to look at ourselves and fix this, how we can get better. So maybe we're going to see some changes, maybe kind of break it up and try to do something a little bit different. I mean, we're playing DC United. It's like our third straight game against the bottom of the table team. It's on the road. Willing Gary's going to be to really shake it up and go crazy for a road match because he a defensive strategy at a home game. So I don't know that a road game is going to be where he's just going to open the floodgates and try to go attack. But I think it's weird. I think like 2 weeks ago, a large chunk of the Nashville SC fan base was done with Lobo. Like, he doesn't fit the system. He doesn't do the work that he needs to do. Get rid of him. We got to move on and find a striker that lays our system. And then after like the last 2 games where Lobo's come on and given us a little spark, why didn't Lobo start? Gary's got to start Lobo. Gary doesn't fully trust Lobo. He was somewhat at fault for didn't close Zusi down fast enough. But I mean, he's a forward. He's a striker. Like, they don't want to do that. I don't know if he can like the more withdrawn role. I think he needs to be further up the field where he doesn't have to do those things, where he can lead the initiate the attack, go try to get some chances to score. Maybe DJ out for a couple games, give Ake a chance to be the main striker, as a striker type position that he's typically come in on. I would love to see Gary just go absolutely crazy this game and think Leal, Mukhtar, Sapong, and Lowball time. I don't think he can. I don't think he will. But that would be crazy. I think, DC's open. I mean, from what I've heard from some people that cover their team, let's get through this season. We'll figure out how to reset and restart next season, but let's just kind of do this season and take as little damage as possible. So they seem to be there for the taking if we put it on them, if we can really do something instead of just trying to be lack of creativity. Looks like Zimmerman will be back. Not listed on the injury report. Leal's not report, after playing 3 or so minutes last week, may start now. Who knows? I'd love to see it. I mean, everything on paper, I think, should tell you that we'll win this game. Last time we played DC United, we beat them season towards the tail end of last year. I mean, they seem to be doing worse this season than they were last season, but the last couple of weeks would not have a lot of confidence in you. But at the same time, we're not removed from just beating the bricks off of and having like 3 goals in 10 minutes. So hopefully we can get that back. Hopefully that'll unlock something. We can get back into a ring healthy. Everybody's coming back from international breaks. We have a good run of no more international breaks. So everybody can stay healthy. If everybody can stay fit, we've got a chance to put it in rhythm and go on a nice little run. And I think Nashville SC should win today, but it's hard to predict a win right now when I've just not played very well the last few weeks. So, but we're on the road. Surprisingly, like even though we just broke the home, I thought it was crazy. We've only won, I think, 2 games in Mark, which is kind of crazy. But I'm wearing the throwback USL jersey. Atlanta United US Open Cup Eve is the last game we actually won at Geodis Park. So maybe wear this today to spark some energy, nostalgia in the team. I don't know. It doesn't matter what I wear. I don't think, but what? Last thing I want to talk about, wrap this up, because I'm going over to the Patty for the watch party for Nash today. Symbol Storage Group, that's their host site, their host watch party today, so it should be fun there. But before I head out, I wanted to talk about the MLS deal with Apple TV, because I had some people ask about my thoughts on it in the comments of one of my previous vlogs. My thoughts have kind of evolved from then. My initial reaction, I was pretty negative on it because it felt like it was going to be really good for existing fans. Back to like season ticket holders will get free access to the streaming service that will contain MLS game going forward. Restrictive to finding new fans, because if you move to Nashville and you hear we have a soccer team, and you hear good things about it, well, I want to watch their game this week, and I'll flip on the TV. Oh wait, it's on a streaming service that I have to pay for. Okay, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, I would be surprised if there's not some type of free trial where if you decide, I want to check out the match, it's on the MLS Apple TV Plus stream. Free trial for 4 can watch at least like 2 or 3 matches and maybe some other MLS matches while I have the free thing, and you build a fan that way. So I've warmed on it a little bit. I went from being to cautiously optimistic that it could be a big thing. And another reason I think it could be huge is the amount of money Apple and Google is significant enough that they are going to do everything they can to make sure it doesn't fail. They're going to put their weight behind it. They're going to promote it. I don't know if this has happened before, but I just noticed it last week watching Apple TV. I got a push notification that came up on my TV screen that said, "Hey, there's a close match." It was like Portland and New York City FC. Click here if you want to switch over to watch the match. So I don't know if that's something existed on Apple TV before, but I mean that's what's going to be the case going forward. They're going to, you're watching Bob's Burgers, tell you, "Hey, there's a really good game you might check out." That can be huge. So I'm optimistic for it. I'm really excited for me as somebody who's already a fan, but I think one thing a good job of as a fan, so in the MLS era of Nashville SC, is really follow and watch all of the MLS the way I do with other. I watch like almost every game I can. Premier League I watch, but MLS I pretty much just watch Nashville SC. Occasionally it's like one of our rivals or something, but it's been kind of limited because without of all the games, you can only watch maybe 2 games a week. But with all the games available there to stream, with them having the highlight show that's recap a full week of stuff, I think it's gonna be good personally to be able to kind of go from being somebody where I'm really into SC, I follow them very closely, to being able to have a better understanding, a better following of the league as a whole. So excited about it, but just excited in general for more Nashville SC content, more going of the MLS. Hopefully, like I said, I think Apple's not going to let it fail. They put so much money. They're going to make sure what they have to do to promote it, to build it, to sell it. In the same regard, that's a lot of money coming into MLS, and I don't know what that'll translate into. Does the salary increase and we can start having more expensive, more talented players spreading out the league, getting more players in? Does that increase getting more money into the league is going to be a good thing one way or the other. I'm excited about it. That's when this was just kind of a first little test to see of maybe before road matches, since I don't have the home vlogs to do. If you enjoyed it, it'll be up for replay if you missed it, but it'll kind of be pointless to watch the replay in the game. It's we're only hours away from kickoff for the match, so you have time to watch this or listen to it. I'm actually as a podcast too. Going to put it on my podcast feed there. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We're done. Oh, one last question just came in. Any thoughts on the 20,000, 23 holder mark? That is awesome. That is a great thing. That was the allotment they had for. We sold all the season tickets we had available. Just from a standpoint of weren't sure, or people were even doubtful if soccer could work in the South, but to hit that mark, to hit that number, that is awesome. To give us, that stadium is going to be packed, that it's going to be full just about every game for this first season. Hopefully that leads to more people being around, sticking around, doing more, being it more. I think it's going to be big to see the number next season because, people are excited about it. People want to get involved. I think there's probably a lot of costs to give out to their employees, stuff like that. I remember that was when the Predators first came, like every business had tickets. I got to go to Predators games all the time because my dad's had Predators season tickets, and they were just like a random construction company. They weren't even like a bigger company. So it's awesome to have hit that number. It's a great, but the retention, I think, is going to be what's really, really key to keeping the growth, keeping a team going. We got an email season ticket holders. July 1st begins period is available. So we'll start to get some knowledge of how much people are investing and staying in for next season and beyond. So stuff. Good first little stream to talk about the team. And we are out of here. Stream is over.